Morning, my dear students. Today in these sessions, we are going to discuss regarding the first problem on projections of a point. A point 20 mm above the HP. 20 mm above the HP. First underline this word. And 40 mm in front of VP. In front of VP. Above and in front. It lies in which quadrant here? It lies in a first quadrant. First draw the coordinate, then you will understand very easily. So this is what we can say here, horizontal plane, and this is what we can say, horizontal plane, vertical plane and vertical plane. In the first quadrant we know that this point is above the horizontal plane and in front of vertical plane. So let us see in this question, above the horizontal plane, above the horizontal plane 40 mm in front of vertical plane. In front it lies in a which quadrant here? First quadrant. Is it right? The first quadrant we have the formula VP by HP. First draw the reference line. Clear? Represent here X and Y. This X and Y, this line is known as a reference line. Okay, let us see. 20 mm above the HP and 40 mm in front of it. It lies in a first quadrant. The first quadrant formula we have VP by HP. Clear? Right here 20 mm. Same thing, same question we have to write here. 20 mm above the HP, 40 mm in front of VP. 40 mm in front of VP. Okay, let us see. Always remember, you need to take the opposite sign. 20 mm above the HP means you need to draw the projection on where here? On the vertical plane. This vertical plane, what we can say, front view. What we can say, front view. It represents as the point A dash. And the 40 mm in front of VP means the resting on where here? The resting on HP. HP is called as top view. Top view is represented as the point here A. First thing is we need to draw 20 mm. 20 mm we need to draw on where here? On the vertical plane. 20 mm we need to draw on the vertical plane. From this reference line, I am measuring a length of 20 millimeter on the vertical plane. And then meanwhile you need to show the dimension of length. How much we have? 20 millimeter. Meanwhile you have to show the dimensions also. How much we have? 20 millimeter. This 20 mm above the HP means they are resting on where here? 20 mm resting on VP. VP what we can say? Front view. So this point what we can say? Front view. It represents as the point what we can say? A dash. Clear? Next one. 40 mm in front of VP means this 40 mm resting on where here? Resting on HP. Resting on HP. Is it right? 40 mm we need to measure from the reference line. How much length we have to measure? 40 millimeter. Is it right? And meanwhile show the dimension 40 mm, 40 millimeter. and show the dimension. Clear? So 40 with resting here on HP. HP, what we can say here? Top view. Top view, it represent as the point A. Any confusion? Again, I will repeat. 20 above the HP means the resting on weight here because we have that dynamo. Clear? Because this is also above the HP. Clear? But let us see. 20 above the HP and 40 in front of VP. So we are sure that. So it is lies in a which quadrant? It lies in a first quadrant. It lies in a first quadrant. What is the first quadrant formula? We have VP by HP. Is it right? Meanwhile, first draw the projection. Meanwhile, we have to show the top view and front view. Then how to show? The same thing we have to write here. 20 above the HP and 40 in front of VP we can write. Always observe this HP, last point. Okay, last point. 20 above the HP means 20 of a point we need to draw on vertical plane. Where we have to draw the point? On the vertical plane. This vertical plane, what we can say, front view. Front view is called as A dash. So from the reference line, we need to measure a length of 20 Clear? Then, so this 20 what we can say, 20 is called as front view. VP is called as front view. Okay, and it represent as the point here A dash. Same 40 in front of VP means we have to draw the projection of point on weight here on HP. On HP. Okay, HP from this reference below the reference line. We have to measure a length of 40 So this one, what we can say, top view. It represent as the point A. First problem is completed. Again, we have to go for second problem. Let us see. A point, once you check it, a point (40 above the HP and 60 behind the VP, 60 behind the VP, draw its projection and show the top and front view. Clear? Done. First of all, read the question. A point 40 above the HP. Just underline this word, above the horizontal plane. Okay, 60 behind the VP, 60 behind the VP, above and behind, above and behind. It lies in which quadrant here? It lies in a second quadrant. Clear? You know the concept of second quadrant formula. Okay, HP, VP. So this is what we can say, this point above the HP and behind the VP, behind the vertical plane. Clear? Above the HP and behind the VP. So we understood over here this question is based on second coordinate. Is it right? The second coordinate formula, we know that the HP and VP both are above the reference line. Both are above the reference line. First draw the reference line. Clear? We need to represent here x and y. X and y, what we can say, VP and HP above the reference line. You know very well. Same thing we have to write here for your understanding purpose. 40 mm above the HP. Clear? And 60 mm behind the VP. 60 mm behind the VP. Just now I told you 40 mm above the HP means you need to draw the projection of a point on where here on the vertical plane. Opposite we have to take. VP, what we can say, front view. Front view is present as the point here B dash. What we can say here, B dash. Clear? Then 60 mm behind the VP means the resting on weight here on the HP. HP, what we can say, top view. Top view is represent as the point what we can say B. Clear? Done. First of all, we have to think about it, which is the smallest value. The smallest value is 40 mm. First of all, take the 40 mm length above the reference line. Above the reference line. This line should be very light. We have to use H pencil. And the point should be dark. Clear? Meanwhile, show the dimension. How much is that? 40 mm. Okay, let us see. 40 mm we are drawn on the vertical plane. This vertical plane, what we can say here? Front view. What we can say? Front view. It represent as the point what we can say B dash. What we can say here? B dash. Clear? Then 60 mm behind the VP. VP means they're resting on where here on the HP. HP and VP both are above the reference line. Both are above the reference line. So from this point, extra we have to take 20 mm. If you want to measure from the reference line, total length should be 60. From this point should be 20 mm we have to take. Okay, extra how much we have to add over here? 20 mm extra we need to add over here from this point. Clear? Then show the dimension. (20 millimeter). So this is what we can say HP. HP, what we can say here? Top view. It represent as the point top view. Top view always represent as B. Clear? Let us see how to identify the question. This question is based on which problem? 40 mm above the HP and 60 mm behind. Above and behind it lies in a second quadrant. The second quadrant formula, we know that HP, BP both are above the reference line. Both are above the reference line. Then let us see. Same thing we have to write here. 40 mm above the HP, 60 mm behind the VP. Clear? Then 40 mm where the resting here, 40 mm resting on VP. First of all, the smallest value is 40. Draw the 40 mm above the reference line. So this is what we can say. VP is called as front view. Front view is represent as B dash. Again, take the extra distance. If you subtract 60 minus of 40, then you how much will you get? 20 mm. 20 mm extra we have to add over here. Okay. 60 mm the resting on HP. HP, what we can say? Top view. Top view, is it right? Both are above the reference line. If you want to measure the length from the reference, this length should be how much will be there here? 60 millimeter. from the reference line. Third question. A point 40 mm below the HP and 60 mm behind the VP okay, behind the VP, draw its projection and show the top and front view. Show the top and front view. So let us see. 40 mm below the HP, below the HP and behind the VP. It lies in which quadrant here? It lies in a third quadrant. We know the concept of third quadrant formula. Point is below the HP and behind the VP. Behind the VP. What is the third quadrant formula? We know here. HP by VP. Is it right? First draw the reference line. Represent X and Y. Here we have to write down here formula HP by VP. 40 mm. So we can write here 40 mm below the HP and 60 mm behind the VP. Okay, let us see. 40 mm below the HP means they're resting on where here? The point is resting on VP. VP, what we can say, front view. It represents as the point C dash. 60 mm behind the VP means they're resting on where here? On the HP. HP, what we can say, top view. It represents as the point as C. Always remember, opposite sign we have to take over here. 40 mm below the HP means they're resting on vertical plane. Okay, 60 mm behind the VP means opposite is HP. They're resting on where here? On the horizontal plane. Let us see. 40 mm we need to draw on where here? On the vertical plane. Where is the vertical plane? Below the reference line. Below the reference line. From this point, I am measuring a length of 40 millimeter. Clear? Then this line should be very light. We have to use H pencil. And the meanwhile, show the dimension here 40 millimeter. Okay. So this VP, what we can say, front view. Front view is present as the point C dash. 60 mm behind the VP means the resting on where here? On the HP. Where is the HP? Above the reference line. From this reference point, we need to measure a length of 60 millimeter. We need to measure. Okay. So this is what we can say, top view. HP is called as top view. It represents as the point C. Clear? Then meanwhile show the dimensions over here. I am representing here C. Clear? 60 millimeter. Always remember, this is the projection line. For this line we have to use H pencil. This is also projection line. We have to use which pencil? H pencil. For dotted line we have to use HB pencil. Which pencil? HB pencil. For this dimension line also we have to use H pencil. Clear? Then next question. Okay. A point 30 mm below the HP. Below the HP and 50 mm in front of VP, in front of VP, draw its projection and show the top and front view. And in which coordinate it lies. Let us see. A point 30 mm below the HP. 30 mm 30 mm below the HP. So right now we are in dynamo. It may be lies in third quadrant or it may be lies in a fourth quadrant. We are not exact sure in which quadrant it lies. Okay. 50 mm in front of VP. 50 mm in front of VP we are sure over here. So this point is lies in a fourth quadrant. Which quadrant here? Fourth quadrant. Draw its projection. Draw its projection and show the top and front view. Clear? Let's see. First thing is draw the coordinate. Below the HP and in front of VP. Point is, this point is below the horizontal plane and in front of whom, dear? In front of vertical plane. Clear? That. So right here the same thing. 30 mm below the HP and 50 mm in front of VP. In front of VP. Already I told you VP means you need to draw the figure on HP. HP means you have to draw the figure on vertical plane. HP means draw the figure on vertical plane. This vertical plane, what we can say? Front view. It represents as the point D dash. Clear? 50 mm in front of VP means they are resting on HP. HP, what we can say? Top view. It represents as the point D. Clear? First draw the reference line. Okay, represent here x and y. This x and y, what we can say, a reference line. So we know the concept. In the 4 quadrant formula we have HP and VP both are below the reference line. HP and VP both are below the reference line. But let us see. So in these two cases we have to choose the smallest value. Which is the smallest value? 30 mm is the smallest value. 30 mm, where the resting deer, the resting on vertical plane, where the resting deer on the vertical plane. So from this point, from this reference line, we need to measure a length of 30 millimeter. Meanwhile, show the dimension. Okay, 30 mm, where the resting deer on this vertical plane. This vertical plane, what we can say here, we can say as front view. It represent as the point, what we can say, D dash. What we can say, D dash. So this point is called as D dash. Again, 50 mm in front of VP. Where the resting here? The resting on HP. Both HP and VP below the reference line. Extra, how much we need to measure over here? 20 mm. From the reference line should be 50 mm. Are you agree or not? Yes. Then if yes, here extra, we need to measure a length of how much here? It should be 20 millimeter. 20 millimeter. Meanwhile, show the dimension. 20 mm. So this is what we can say here, top view. What we can say, top view. It represents as the point D. So this point, what we can say here, D. From the reference line, we need to show how much? 50 millimeter. From the reference line, we need to show the dimension 50 millimeter. Clear? I hope so. No one is having the doubt. In the next session, we are going to discuss regarding the next topic. The name of the topic is projection of line. Thank you, dear.